Hey guys, I'm Becca, and I'm going to be using Ableton Live to show you how to use the vocoder to add really cool effects to vocal performances as well as some instruments. So first off, a little history on vocoders. The earliest vocoder was developed as a speech coder actually for telecommunications in the late 1920s, 1930s, and today the NSA actually still uses them. Also, there's research involved with linguistics and cochlear implants that uses vocoders. So they're in a lot of different areas. And they didn't actually start appearing in music until the late 1950s, but they only became successful in the 70s. So some people you might have heard of, some artists who use them are Pink Floyd, Daft Punk, Queen, Michael Jackson, and Coldplay. So first things first about the actual vocoder, it involves two things, a carrier and a modulator. So the carrier is going to be an external synth, which is usually going to be muted. And then the modulator is a vocal, which holds the vocoder effect. All right, so the way that you want to get started is to find a vocal. You can also use your own. But you're going to want something that's a cappella. So you can just go to YouTube and search something like Sia a cappella, and you can find something pretty easily that way. And then you can put it into a program like Vid to MP3 that'll convert the video into an MP3 file. And then you can just pull in those tracks as audio tracks, and you want to pull in two of the same exact track, both as audio. And then you're going to want to head into the audio effects folder. So first let's get on one of these tracks. I just chose this one and I renamed it as the vocoder track. And so we go into audio effects and then we find vocoder here. And then you want to drag that in like I did. Oops. Oh my gosh. Okay, so then you have the vocoder effect on it right here. Okay, so now you're going to want to head into the instruments folder and drag, let's see, analog up into one of these areas. So it's going to be a MIDI track essentially. And then at this point now you should have 3 total tracks. So then let's go into the vocoder here. So a little bit about the UI of the vocoder. On the left-hand side, you have the area where you choose the carrier, and then in the middle, you have a filter bank, and on the right, you have the various types of effects you can use. So in terms of the carrier, you're going to want to use an external source, which, yeah, we can just choose that. And then you want to take the audio from the analog track that we just created up here. And then you want, it might be selected pre-FX, but you want to select post-FX. So basically you won't be hearing anything until you actually trigger the analog track, as long as this track here is on mute. So one thing we can start by doing is pressing enhance. And here I just put a few chords into the analog track. You can also just do it while it's playing, but this is an easier way. Let's actually change this. So that sounds okay. It doesn't sound great, but we can do some things to make it sound a little bit better. So let's go back into the vocoder. So that was with enhance, without enhance. Oops. So it makes a pretty big difference. And basically what it's doing is normalizing the incoming signal from the chords that I put in here. Another thing you can do is go to the unvoiced section, and this catches the S's and the T's and kind of the breathiness of the voice. So if you turn it up, you will hear kind of more of the breathiness, and you'll hear like the voice. It's kind of creepy sounding. All right, so then in an EQ plugin, or in this little area here, you might want to consider turning the highs up. Some people do that to get a better sound. But in this particular EQ within the vocoder, you have various bands, and more bands creates kind of a higher resolution sound. Let's see. So you can kind of hear her voice better. As opposed to 16, it's really robotic. And then you can also change the range of the frequencies that the vocoder takes in right here. Usually I think the default is 120, but yeah, you can change that around and see what types of effects that changes. You can also turn the depth down over here. Turning the depth down kind of mixes it up more. Usually I keep it around 110. That seems to be a good area. You can also change the release time. You can make that faster, slower. So if we turn it down, it makes kind of a tighter sound. And then finally we have the formant knob, which changes the vocals to kind of either a higher or lower pitch. It tends to make a pretty big impact. Yeah, just a little adjustment can change it quite a bit. Another thing you can do, if we just open up the analog track again, you can change the wave. You can make it like a saw or sine wave. That tends to have a pretty big impact. And I've also heard that changing the spread can make a pretty big difference. But yeah, it's a pretty obvious change. Or we can just do all these changes, live, real time. And then if you want to actually do it with the vocals playing,
like tomorrow doesn't exist, like it doesn't exist.
So yeah, that's some fun stuff you can do with the vocoder. You can make some pretty awesome sounds and try to sound like Daft Punk maybe. All right, well, I hope you guys learned a lot. Thanks. See ya.